Hi there. I'm Tirsi Engelhardt, and I want to welcome you once again to the Unreasonably Grateful podcast, Living in Grace by Choice. And many of you have been with me for a while, some of you are new. And either way, wherever you are in your journey, I want to thank you for sharing your journey with me and inviting me to be a part of uh, your journey and sharing my journey, like being a part of my journey as well. I started this podcast a few years ago, really when we were first involved with COVID and a lot of people were inside as a way to stay connected. And it's been a beautiful vehicle for doing that. So, again, thank you so much for being here. To remind you, I don't have your answers, you do. I'm simply sharing my story as other people shared their story with me, and it impacted my life in a positive way. I would either hear something newly or perhaps for the first time, and hearing that kind of, it was like a key. It unlocked something in me that moved me a little further down my path. And it's my hope that there's something that perhaps I share that comes from my now almost 39 years of recovery after living 20 years of an addictive lifestyle and dealing with healing from sexual abuse and living with an eating disorder. So I hope that there's something in my story that helps you, that supports you and moves you closer to seeing and being who you really are and who you were created and designed to be, which I know is fabulous and beautiful and amazing. And I want you to be able to experience that as well. Again, I appreciate you being here. On Tuesdays, I offer individual sessions most Tuesdays. It's an opportunity to drop in a little bit deeper, get closer to you. If it's something you're interested in, you can sign in on TersiEngelhardt.com underneath Working Together. And again, I want to reach out and thank all of you who have signed up for those sessions. I've loved the time that we've had together. It's impacted my life, and it's my hope that it's impacted your life in a positive and meaningful way. So, again, thank you for trusting me, for being there, and sharing your life with me. So, this particular session is on grief, and I just want to give you a little bit of a background. I'm not an expert on grief. I've certainly experienced grief, but right now I have some family members who are grieving the loss of their mother, the loss of their mother in law, and for my grandchildren, the loss of a grandmother. And there was something that my 19-year-old granddaughter said. She actually said it on social media, and it just struck me. And what she said was, this grief thing is real and it's confusing. And sometimes I have moments of the deepest emotional pain that I've ever felt. And the next minute, I'm thinking, I want to travel. I want to go somewhere, do something. And it had me start to think about the grief I've experienced in my life and grief that some of you may be feeling. And I think there's so many layers to grief. For some of us, when we begin the healing process, there's grieving over a past. And it might be an abusive past. It might be we've abused others. It might be we've been abused. It might be just a grief for the years that may have been lost in addiction or, yeah, just dealing with the trauma of your life. There's grief when we lose someone that we love, like my family is right now. And I think the thing that's so important about it is that we're gentle with ourselves, that we're kind, that we let ourselves feel it. It will wash over you. And it's erratic and sometimes unexplained. And I had another friend who lost a son recently, and she was sharing with me that she feels like she's doing great. And then all of a sudden, in a coffee shop where she's having a cup of coffee, a kid comes in with a sweatshirt that her son had a sweatshirt like that. And suddenly she's just dropped into the deepest levels of loss and sorrow and grieving. And so, in this time where there certainly is a lot of letting go, a lot of surrendering to some uncertainty, a lot of loss of what was that perhaps may never be that way again. that we give ourselves the space and the time to grieve, to simply be with the emotions. We don't have to identify with them. We don't have to do anything with them, but we can let them move through us as we begin to process what it is that we're being asked to surrender to or to give up. Quite frankly, grieving is often about we've had to give up something. And we can, certainly take a look at, wow, well, the key is to stay present. But I think it's important in the grieving process that you don't try to fix something or change something. You just let things be. I was watching America's Got Talent episode recently. And there was like a 10 or 11-year-old girl, and she was stopped midway through her performance, which you could just see the devastation on her face, the embarrassment, the disappointment, so many things. And then she was given another opportunity to sing a different song. And when she came back, she like walked on stage and she said, "So that just happened." And then she went on to do an amazing performance. And I think that's part of what grieving is. We're acknowledging that something's happened. And oftentimes, what's happened is something that we would have loved to have avoided or we wished it hadn't happened. And all there is to do is to accept that it has. But in that process of acceptance, there's grieving. And be gentle, be kind as you let go and surrender to it. And I'll see you next week. Thank you so much and have a beautiful week. And if you're grieving the loss of anyone or something this week, practice being gentle.